We are witnessing a 47% collapse in human neural connectivity, the silent bankruptcy of the modern mind.
You know, it's wild to think about, but generative AI has spread faster than PCs, faster than the internet even. And we're not just talking about a fancy calculator or a new GPS, right? This tech is getting right into the very core of what makes us human, our ability to write, to reason, to analyze things. And it's forced us to ask a really urgent, kind of scary question. As we hand over more and more of our thinking for the sake of convenience, what is happening to our own brains? Okay, let's just jump right in with a number that honestly, it stopped me cold when I first saw it. Negative 47%. So, what is that? Is that a drop in the stock market? A dip in productivity? Nope. It's something way, way more personal. It's a measure of what might literally be happening inside your brain every time you use AI. And there it is. That's the headline from a huge study that came out of the MIT Media Lab in 2025. They used EEG scans to literally watch the brain's electrical activity while people were writing. And what they found was a staggering drop in how much the brain was engaged for people using ChatGPT. This is really our first piece of hard evidence, and it begs the question, what is the real price we're paying for all this convenience? So, what does a collapse in brain connections actually look like? This isn't just some vague feeling of being lazy. We're talking about a real, measurable change in how our brains are firing. The MIT study basically gave us a window into this neural downshift, and, well, it's pretty shocking. This chart really puts that 47% drop into perspective. Look at this. On the left, you've got the group writing on their own, brain only. They showed 79 significant neural connections. Now look at the group using ChatGPT, only 42. And here's the kicker. This drop wasn't just random. It was concentrated in the alpha and theta brain bands, the very frequencies linked to things like working memory, focus, and planning. You know, the stuff we need for deep thinking. So why is this happening? It's not like AI is some evil villain out to get us. The truth is, our brains are hardwired to find the most efficient path, the easiest way to do things. And AI? It offers the ultimate shortcut. This creates this incredibly powerful loop that can pull us into what researchers are starting to call cognitive traps. The first trap is a mechanism we all use, probably every single day. Cognitive offloading. I mean, think about it. You don't memorize phone numbers anymore, right? You save them to your contacts. You follow a GPS instead of building a mental map of a new city. We're constantly offloading tasks to lighten our mental load. It's a totally natural survival strategy. This isn't even a new phenomenon. It's been documented for years as the Google effect. See, when we know that information is super easy to look up, our brains don't bother storing the information itself. Instead, they store the path to the information. We remember where to find it, not what it is. This is basically the warm-up act for what's happening with AI, but now it's on a whole other level. And that leads us to something a bit more sneaky, a more powerful trap, the sovereignty trap. The thing is, AI gives us these amazing, high-quality, authoritative answers with almost zero friction. It's so good, so competent, that we're tempted to just accept what it says, to give up our own judgment. It's the path of least resistance, and man, is it easy to mistake the AI's smarts for our own. So here's the critical part. When we keep falling for these convenience traps over and over again, we start building up this long-term deficit. And researchers have a perfect name for it, a really powerful metaphor for the age we live in. They call it cognitive debt, and it works just like financial debt. You're basically borrowing from your future self for a little convenience right now. Every single time we outsource a moment of tough thinking to an AI, we're skipping the mental workout. It feels easier in the moment, sure, but that debt just keeps compounding. And over time, it could leave us with a massive deficit in our most important cognitive skills. And we're already starting to see the symptoms. Things like a decline in critical thinking, what some call digital amnesia, where we just fail to actually store information in our own memory. This leads to skill atrophy. I've heard it called the missing ladder rung problem. I mean, if AI does all the basic level thinking for us, how does a beginner ever get the practice they need to become an expert? And this is not just a theory. Look at this number. In that same MIT study, a jaw-dropping 78% of the people who used ChatGPT to write their essays couldn't quote a single thing from them afterwards. They weren't authors anymore. They were just content managers. The ideas flowed right through the screen, but they never made it into their minds. They racked up the debt, and when the bill came due, they couldn't pay. But hold on, because the story doesn't end there. In fact, this is where things get really interesting. This simple idea that AI is bad for your brain turns out to be, Well, not the whole picture. The MIT study had a twist at the end, and it completely reframes the entire problem. So, for the final session of the study, the researchers just flipped the script. They took the people who had been using AI the whole time and made them write on their own. And they took the writers who had been using only their brains and gave them ChatGPT for the first time. What happened next was, well, nobody saw it coming. And what they found perfectly illustrates this idea of the expertise duality. It turns out that AI's effect on your brain isn't one size fits all. It completely depends on the foundation you've already built in your mind. For a novice, someone without that strong base, AI often acts like a crutch. It's a leveler that just replaces the hard work of building those skills. But for an expert, for them, AI becomes an amplifier, a powerful tool that supercharges the skills they already have. This table shows the incredible neural proof. When the people who'd been leaning on AI had to suddenly write alone, their brains stayed in a low-effort mode. They showed persistent under-engagement. It was like they couldn't get back into a higher gear. But when the experienced writers, the brain-only group, used AI for the first time, their brains lit up like a Christmas tree, a network-wide spike in connectivity. Their strong mental foundation meant they could partner with the AI, engaging more of their brain, not less. So what's the big takeaway here? The evidence isn't telling us to throw these amazing new tools away. Not at all. Instead, it's pointing to a new kind of literacy, a new kind of mental fitness we all need to develop. It's showing us a path forward where we can actually use AI without letting it use us. Let's be really clear about this. The problem is not the technology. The problem is our uncritical, almost automatic dependence on it. So the solution isn't to run away from AI. The solution is to intentionally build what the researchers are calling a fortified mind. A fortified mind is basically an internal mental framework that's strong enough to partner with AI without being weakened by it. It's about achieving something called cognitive sovereignty, having the power to direct your own thinking, to use your tools without letting them control you. So, how do we build one? The research points to 3 key steps. First, build that foundational knowledge. Do the hard work yourself before you ask the AI for help. Second, practice metacognition, which is really just thinking about your thinking. Always ask yourself, do I actually get this, or am I just clicking accept? And third, you have to embrace effortful thinking. Intentionally seek out the hard problems, those desirable difficulties, because that's the cognitive equivalent of lifting weights. It's how our brains actually get stronger. And that really brings us to the final, crucial question we all have to start asking ourselves. We are in the middle of a massive shift in how we think, how we work, how we live. The choice isn't if we'll use AI, but how. So as you bring these tools more and more into your own life, you have to ask, is your mind being extended or is it being hollowed out? The answer really is up to you.
Your mind was the collateral. The machine has officially foreclosed on your genius.